Hello and welcome to the show. This is Do All the Things. On today's episode, my trusty workshop system. Right here, it's due for some maintenance, and I'm figuring since I gotta put it under the knife anyway, let's upgrade it. If you've been following the comedy, you might be privy to some of the various computers that I've featured here, most of them personally owned by me because I'm a freaking geek like that. But there's one that's always been behind the camera or in front of the camera, but behind the camera, in front of the camera, because it's always been like right there. You might have noticed it in the background. And maybe if you are a hardware nerd like me, you've been somewhat curious about it. What's its specs? What's it about? Well, you're in for a treat because here it is. This is, I believe I call it Discovery 1. I forget what I named it. There was this point in time when I was naming my computers off of things from 2001 Space Odyssey. This only happened because I named my main system Monolith back when it was just like a big black brick. And then when I built myself a second system that had like this kind of like blinking eyeball looking thing on it, I called it HAL, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna ride that train. I think I had a system named Dave once, but Discovery 1 is the ship that they traveled in, and this isn't exactly a ship. Well, I guess it's a ship we travel in. It helps me film these videos. I use it to look up specifications and data sheets and surf the web when I'm here in the workshop, general resourcing, and then of course when I'm filming, it's got OBS going, doing screen capture. For that reason, it's simultaneously nice and not nice at the same time. Because, you know, when I built it, open loop water cooling, I'm all about open loop water cooling. It's staying like that, but it's fully cooled because it has not only the CPU, but the GPU also, which is hilariously cooled. Now it's got 4 sticks of RAM here because of upgrades that I did, and I had the spare RAM that all matched. It only had 2. It only had 8 gigs of RAM, 2400 Kingston, overclocked to 3200. The processor, a lowly Ryzen 1200. Yeah, that's it. The smallest and slowest Ryzen on the market, released before they came out with their APUs. They didn't have an APU solution in the beginning. If you wanted a basic entry-level system with a Ryzen, you got something like a 1200, 1300, 1400. It is simply 4 cores. That's it, not 8 threads. 4 cores, 4 threads. Just enough what you need to make a computer work in today's society. Except it did need a discrete graphics card. Hiding up in here, we have an old Radeon HD 7000 from Pegatron, which is a Dell part. It's going to be a Dell OEM video card, which, as I understand, would have been made by Asus, so it's been good. You're also going to notice all the way up here, it's not even in the graphics port slot. Well, there's a reason for that. I set up this system to be able to be a work system for doing system maintenance to other systems. So someone brings me a computer, or I have a computer, and they're like, I want to install this new SSD, install this new hard drive. Can you transfer my Windows over? Yeah, I can do data migration. So it basically has 2 of everything for connecting hard drives. In the front, we have 2 3¼ hot swaps, even though this one's an old school one, just in case. And now it's okay. That's a whole nother thing. It has 2 2.5-inch hot swaps. I still have a DVD in here. Actually, it'll even read Blu-rays. This is for legacy support. So if I have any discs come through that I have to be able to read, this is the one system that's going to do it. And then of course, for that reason, I keep the PCI Express empty. If I have 2 NVMEs that I need to migrate, I just have these adapters here. I don't have the little back planes on them, so I'll just be like, boom, slip it in there. Oh, there's 1. There's 2. And this is a good old-fashioned dual PCI Express board. Crossfire, SLI rated. Those are going to have full bandwidth. Now granted, I didn't necessarily need to put it into that port to do it. I could have put it in the other port, but this was a little bit more accessible because graphics was not a thing for this. I didn't have to worry about gaming or anything. Well, I just put it in the bitch port, which is a PCI Express 2.0, not even 3.0, 4X. So that's like way down there. And I wonder if that might be some of what I am experiencing with this computer, because it's feeling sluggish these days, feeling a bit sluggish. Now, contrary to popular belief, computers don't get slower. This thing will always be as fast as it is. What happens is everything else gets heavier. Internet web page has got more loading on, more script. Facebook has got more ads being served. Windows updates has more features running in the background. You need more power. And you know, my main system's a good system. Now my upstairs system's a good system. I'm just finding, I wish this was just a little bit more snappier. Just a little bit more snappier when I'm using it here at the bench. That's getting solved today. Because like, at the very least, I gotta top off the coolant here. It's been gurgling. It's been doing all sorts of fancy stuff, but like not really the fancy you want it to do. And before you ask, the motherboard is a Gigabyte AX370 Gaming K7, an old X370. Still good. In fact, I bet if I did gaming on this board, it would perform like, I did the comparison of X570 versus X470. I saw no difference. I bet I'd see no difference with this one too. As a bit of a novelty, the K7 board has a U2 port, and I'm not talking about the band. Some people might not be familiar with U2, but basically it's this here. U2 is an external equivalent of M2. So in fact, this port is connected to the M2 SSD port. You can't use them both at the same time. It's one or the other, which is why I don't use this for any migrations. And it's actually for a different kind of SSD that some might not be familiar with. If we could focus in here, that's an Intel 750 series 400 gig, and that's the boot drive. It's an old one. I bought, like, I got a good price for it back like when I needed another SSD. I was running in 256 gig 960 Evo, I think it was at the time, and 256 wasn't a lot. I needed more space. I got a good deal on this one. It was open box or something. So I was like, okay, cool, 400 gig for the price of a 256 or something like that. And it's a bit of a novelty, a bit of a collector. And of course it still works well. It's still no reason not to use it. And I got a kick out of this motherboard had the port for it instead of the adapter. I had to use an adapter that adapted that thing to a PCI Express before. So basically, we're gonna upgrade because you might be aware that I built a new gaming system for upstairs. And initially, I was scrapping it together with parts that I bought a used 3700X. And that was before I upgraded my main system, and then I ended up with a spare 3950X, and then I bought the 5700G, and coming soon, I am actually putting the 5800X3D in there. So that has escalated quickly, but it means now I have a 3700X that I paid cheap for that is surplus to my needs, but not really. It's gonna go in here. We're gonna have 8 cores of 16 threads. And then finally, well, because of other previous upgrades, I have a bunch of spare Vega 64s now. I might as well chuck this frigger in there and use it because truth be told, if you find your computer is a bit sluggish, sometimes it's not the CPU. Sometimes it's the video. Especially when you have an older card like that. That card could be lagging the system. So first things first, I guess I'm gonna have to drain this guy. I'm also gonna have to put the water block back on this thing. This case, an old Lian Li V1000, it was my enthusiast case from the early 2000s. It came with these wheels that would only go forward and back, which was handy for like moving on your desk. It had the inverted motherboard, which was a niche at the time. It seemed like a good idea until you realized it doesn't ventilate well. It's not the best idea because it puts the exhaust fan down here and the heat rises, right? Good thing it has a lot of holes, but they had aftermarket kits for it to fix this problem, like fans that you would mount here and an exhaust fan that would go up there. Either way, not a good idea, but I run it without a side panel, or it's missing the window. So when I do have the side panel on, it's gaping here. I can still get in and out. I just end up taking the side panel off to change something. I keep forgetting to put it back on. I have an old school drain here. This thing's probably been running with this same coolant for quite a while. I made a plug, getting a fitting and just jamming it with silicone. Taking the plug off the top. Oh, there it goes. There's not gonna be much to drain. There's not much left in there. This case came with all thumb screws. That smells funny. Interesting. It's coming out clear though. So, damn, when's the last time I put fluid in this system? This thing's been circulating that same water for like quite a few years now. And there we go, the Pegasistron. Let's see if I have an identification on it now. Really? Hey, It doesn't say frig all on it. Why they gotta be like that? I'm pretty sure I still have the HSF for it, so I can go back on. HSF didn't even really cover the RAMs, so they didn't need cooling. So I've been running it with this like, this eBay special, $20. Darylin with nickel plated. It's been fine. I'm just gonna seal this up for now, set it aside. They'd probably pretty much forget about it because I can't see any reason why I'll ever need this card again. Cards removed, we can plug up these ports. That's a funny plug idea, eh? Yeah. So other features you're gonna see are some very vintage water cooling components. Some of which hail back to like my first one. Parts that I might have purchased from NCIX back when, geez, Linus was working there. I introduced to you supposedly one of the best water blocks you could get. The D-tek something, I don't recall. As you can see, it doesn't have AM4 support, so I fashioned this piece of acrylic and I put LED on it. So yeah, it's fine now. Actually, it's still pretty decent water block. And if you're getting into water cooling and couldn't afford a frickin' D5 or whatever, and didn't make sense because they didn't have tops yet or something, we had this Danger Dense, a CPS1, I think it is. They still make this pump under Phobia, and it comes with PWM too. This one will DC control to a point, so it is slightly throttled down, and this board has like a 3 amp water pump header, so that's good. But this didn't need that much current. This has been in continuous use for about 15 years now. This was in my first water cooling build. There was probably a year or two I was using the CPS Pro because I was expecting to upgrade it, but then I didn't. It was louder, so I sent it back down. I put this one back in it, and that's been in my main rig for like over 10 years. I can't even remember how long I've had this pump. And then it's seen a few times there when it wasn't being used, but then it made it back into this, and it's just been running for years in here. And then this radiator in back, that's a Hardware Labs GTX 240. GTX means it's a quad core radiator. So how that works is, you got water coming in, it makes one pass, and instead of going to the other side, making a second, it actually makes one pass, then it goes down, makes another pass in the same section, then it goes over, makes a pass, comes back up and makes a pass. 4 passes. Now, this case didn't originally support water cooling. Like at one point I did have water custom loop on this, and I had a 120 rad in the back. Actually, I still have that rad. 120 Hardware Labs GTS. First started in this case. And that happened because my Cooler Master AIO, the first and only AIO on the market at the time, didn't have AM2 support. It was 939 only, so when I got AM2, I'm like, well, I need a new water cooling. I guess I'll try this now. This used to be 6 3.5 bays, back when people still put a lot of frickin' hard drives in their computer. But I modded the snot out of this case. This was solid. I cut these gapers out. And now because the assembly here, it's got a break, by the way. Because this assembly's here, there's no mount point there. So this fan's just bolted onto the rad. The rad's mounted at these 4 points here. So 120, pull through, bottom exhaust. Works great. Works great. Up here, you're gonna see a relic from the past too. This has been in this case for a while, and I'm probably getting rid of it today because it's annoying. That is an old, what is this again? CFL? It's a fluorescent tube. It's a miniature ass fluorescent tube with a ballast. And this is how we lit our computers back in the early mid 2000s before they did LED. I have an LED strip here, so I haven't used it, but I left it in here for whatever friggin' reason. It keeps falling off. It's glued to the top, it keeps falling off, then it falls into the 3.5 bay. So every time I wanted to hot swap a drive, I had to stick my hands in the front and stick it back up there. I'm replacing this thing too today. We have this interesting captive screw system. There's no lower screw, there's just this one, and then there's a mechanism. Pull that out. This was top tier at the time. This was a quality ass case. No access in the motherboard tray. In fact, I cut these holes in it so that I could get the cooler of the time on and off. I had to switch the CPU. That was just where those particular holes were. This is all aluminum, by the way. All aluminum. Oh, look at this. Fan filter. That maybe needs to be done. Why they would put a filter on the exhaust, but I'm using it as an intake. So this fan kind of just pulls air in, and then I have like this directional, just shoots a breeze over the board. And look at that. This only supported a normal size PSU, but not one of the ones that was modular. So in order to fit modular in there, I had to find standoffs to extend it out. Frickin', this system's hilarious, bud. finally rid of this old bay. Oh, ugh. Gotta kind of clean out the crap that's in the top here. Ah! This is seriously the easiest way to get into what I'm doing. Ah, there we go. Oh yeah, I'm scratching up my hand. That's the stickiness. Yeah. Here's the capture card I use that works sometimes. Oh, getting this thing out, I took out the wrong thing. That's great. Getting this out is going to be a challenge because I believe I'm running this wire under the motherboard. Oh yeah, bud, it's like right... Ah, for frick's sakes. How the hell am I going to pull this off? I guess I'm just going to have to straight up loosen this board as best I can and see if I can slip that wire out. Even though it's all in there, bud. There's like one screw hiding back down here that I can't really get at. Oh well. Holy frick, how do I have this damn thing on? This is going to be complicated to take this out. Okay, it seems this is simple nut and bolt assembly. Ugh, come on now. Okay. Hey, wrong way. So... this is just tight all over. I gotta go around back and apparently this is part of this. Great, I need that extension. You know, we got bulky stuff on this side. Like this would pull through easy. Oh, we could get this through here. This, as if this is the hardest part, bud. As if this is like the hardest part. Just frickin', no wonder I never uninstalled this thing before. Okay, finally, this thing. Gandhi. Okay, so I guess now what we have to do is crack the sarcophagus. That is this waterblock, which is just, I'm using like literal just wing nuts. Just wing nuts. Hey, come on. Or no, I got some nylon washers on there too, bud. My secure plate. And then, oh, there we go, bud. Nice copper waterblock. Oh. This stuff's still creamy. What did I use on this? Is this Arctic Silver 5 back when I still had that? And there it is, buds. Go. The Ryzen 1200, the smallest and slowest AMD full-featured processor. 4 cores, 4 threads, 3.1 base, 3.4 boost. Oh boy. Dinosaur. And now we insert the 3700 third and formerly known as Twitter in there. Goo the shmoo. Just goo up the shmoo. Thermal Grizzly. It's a bit overkill, bud. Hey, get goo where goo doesn't belong. Line it up and smash it. Oh, let's get that LED connector on. There we go. Smash it down. Yeah. Where's all the little washers that I had, though? They've done a no, they're just so clear, it's hard to see them. Spin these freaking wingies back on. Didn't I drop a wingy in here? Oh, got a magnet soldered to a wire. Can be handy. And yeah, no springs, bud. Just, you know, finger it out tension. Just kind of go by feel, go by experience. For the next step, I gotta get the water block put back on this. I took the water block off this thing, made one video with it. Now I'm putting the water block back on. Who would have thunk it? All right, it's been some time later, and as you can see, I've got the water block on there. I also have a temp sensor. I meant to add a temp sensor to this build. It has like currently down here, just like one of those sensor wires just kind of like stuck to the radiator. And I guess it's done the job because I do have the rad fans calibrated by water temperature. No fans in here going by CPU temperature. I've decided to leave the dual thing on here. The way I'm going to be implementing this next, I'm not really going to need it. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put it in the correct slot because there's going to be enough room up here for me to get at M2 if I really need to do some migration in the future. I just have to proper figure out how I'm going to route these wires, but oh, this is the biggest thing to just jam in here in a long time. Look at that. It's going to fill all the space. Now I just have to determine how we're going to implement our tubes. This thing's going to come across the top like this. Hopefully still give me access in here. Gotta get that little drippy bit out of there. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna drip already. It's fine though, we're good. Oh boy, this thing like freaking goes all over the place. This is a long tube that I put in here. Hopefully it ain't getting kinky on me. And then traditionally, oh geez, am I gonna do an up-D loop like that? I think I might have to make this tube shorter. Much shorter. Mucho shortero. Oh no! Well, I guess it's got to go up in the 8X port. It's going to make data migration a pain trying to get in up here, but I guess it is what it is. I'm going to have to implement use of a 90 up here now, though. It's going to make it even harder to get stuff in here. Tell me this will fit now. Yeah, just. Once again, though, this hole is going to have to get shorter. I think this should do. The curve's subtle enough, I don't think it wants to kink. Now, reservoir to pump is pretty straightforward. That is a line that's tried, tested, and true. Thing is, I was noticing my line that goes from CPU to res was developing a bit of a kink. Yeah, like right here. It seems that this reposition has taken some stress off, though. Just taking it off, reseating it. I think we're gonna be okay now. Oh, wait, it's kind of sucking dirt out. Come on. I need to get like a kinky coil. I don't know, I guess I'll watch it there. It doesn't seem like it's gonna be too bad. It's just, you know, it's slightly flattening out, but I don't think that's gonna compromise the flow, really. Look at that. This comes up through here. Oh, can you even see? It's like a mess in here. I almost feel like it needs to come around the power line here, just for amusement. Yeah, like, because like this is not, like, cable management is not that much of a thing in here. I don't know what to tell you, buds. This is as good as it's getting. I believe my loop's back together now. So I should be able to snoot a bit of water into this thing and see what happens. This teeny eensy weensy little Rezzy fills up rather quick like. I bought this Rezzy used in like 2018. This is an OG water cooling res. Like OG, like back of the day when water cooling was like brand frickin' new. At least with the G1/4 standard. They had some weird ass Rezzys previous to that, but I tell you what. Bust out my little foot control box, even though it's not gonna give me any speed control over this guy. I will still, however, get foot switch control. She's gonna shoot. Just kind of, this pump, luckily, it starts instantly, so we can just kind of blip on it like this. Now let's just give her. Yeah, she's flowing nice, bud. It's a simple loop. It's not going to take much to bleed, especially with the radiator oriented this way with the frickin' tubes already going out the top. She ain't going to need much. Maybe just like a little tip back here. Oh yeah, that's wheezing the juice for shizzle. At some point, we can't go too far, right? That's as far back as I'm going to give her. Oh, that's funny. The case is balanced. It stays like this. Yeah, she's settled in nicely already. Okay, well that puts us pretty much done with the loop. We just have to button this pupper up now, I think. I'll let it circulate more later, but for the meantime, we gotta get moving. So this is the new bay that's going in there, replacing that one that needs the module. This is actively cooled, this one, and I do that for a reason. If I find myself doing a long drawn out file transfer, we have a circumstance up here where it might get a little bit hot in this general area. Now this guy here is passively cooled, and that's cool because there's all this room up here. We just let that drive radiate. But if we had another drive kind of radiating up here, that might exacerbate the situation. So this one is gonna go in here and it will ventilate. It's our surrender. So no holds bar here, this just slips right in. We already have the adapter ready. We already have like the power drop right here. That goes up right, oh wow. This might get fun right here. Okay. We gotta remember, that's a thing that exists. Just slot this into here. Okay, I can kind of fold her back. See, like, the cable management's not gonna be pretty on this. It's just really, yeah, okay. Huh, that's done. Oh, we got RGB for the video card. Is there a spare RGB port open here somewhere? There must. Fancy arse board like this. Give up the goods, bud. No, I'm not seeing any spare RGB ports here. That top thing is RGBW. So the only true RGB port is the one down here that the CPU is attached to. Yeah, and if we're gonna try to start to doppelganger on that one, stuff's gonna get messy. I can't even find a Y cable. Thought I had one. I'm not even sure that I care with this one. As if you don't have one more RGB port. You're a dick, bud. Now, mind you, the light at the top's gonna get blocked by this, so... Let's see if I can kinda, maybe... Yeah, there she goes. I've disconnected the overhead light. I'll deal with custom cutting a cable later. The system, I honestly don't care. We'll have the card lit instead of the other thing. Now we just have to deal with this. Dual 8 pins, bud. And like, this is a bit of a stretch here. I guess it'll just. Again, she ain't gonna be pretty. And I hate this crap here. I'm just doing the usual bundler down action here, so it's kind of like, it looks like one cable, you know, from the right angle in the certain light. I just need these puppers to come down, through, and around, and then we got to figure out how we're going to get at this. I have to loosen up this PSU, no doubt about it. Got to kind of pull that out. I have this external power I have to reconnect some way. Before I had like a thing from the switch. Ah, look at this. This was one of those things from the switch, but I cut the switch wires off of it, so perfect. Aim down, I guess tuck it here, come back around. All right, this runs my power amp. I've got a little 2-channel 20 by 20 watt power amp, a car audio power amp. It just runs off the 12 volt in here just for those speakers so I can hear the bleeps and boops. It is only a 550 watt power supply, so I guess that's gonna be minimum spec for what I got in here. But I don't even care because like I'm not cranking on this system, period. I'm not gaming on it. I'm only having the video card out of convenience because I know if you're just booting on the web, that card sips power. For OBS, I'm gonna have hardware encoding now, good hardware encoding, and I'm gonna have 4 monitor outputs. That was another bottleneck I was suffering from. I got 3 monitors. I got that one, I got that one, and I got that one. With the old card, you could only use 2 at a time. Gotta figure on where I'm putting this card back in. This thing was a bit fussy. I had it like in this position before, but now that's blocked. There's a 1X slot here and a 1X slot down here. I'll stick it up here in this open slot that doesn't have anything in it for now, which is right close to the video output. Now, you know what? We'll move it down to this first slot. This thing uses exclusively these shinies. This one's gotten a bit tarnished. Hey, these other 2 still have shine to them though. Getting these all back into place through the frickin' reservoir. Yeah, I had to pull the reservoir for this last one. I can get the screw out, but I can't get the screw in because the screwdriver has to come at an angle. Maybe I'll have a quick disconnect reservoir here, bud. I don't know about the rattle factor, but we just put these cross members through here. They can't accidentally back out. That could just hang there loose, I guess. No reason not to. Because these are long screws. The worst they could do is like pop out here, but then they hit here and they're still fully supporting it. Like this thing can't fall out. Maybe if anything, I wedge a chunky foam in here. Does that give it a little bit of float factor? I don't know. Is the back panel still gonna fit on? That's a yes. And here's the side panel missing the window, right? Well, there we go. There it is. All I have to do is like go set it back down there and fire it up, see if it still works. Before you ask, yes, I did update the BIOS. It's F51. From F40 supports the 3700X. Apparently this thing supports PCI Express 4.0, this board. Like it's just a software switch. If it's built onto the CPU, there's just links that go to the port. Maybe those links aren't validated, but still, like it's a software switch. Oh yeah, that spot's gonna need a brisk sucking before we put that thing back. All right, I gotta do this whole awkward thing here. Bear with me. Well, that's flippin' handy that exists. Hey, what order are we going in here? Now I can't see. God, back. Get in there. Oh, of course the audio jacks are color-coded. Why do I have so many? I don't remember having this many USBs here. Oh, Garon. Okay, that should do it. Probably covered in dust now. I'm glad I'm relatively agile. So let's see. No post? Come on, you can do better than that. I updated your BIOS. Beep post. Oh, I gotta reset TPM. Doing some boot looping action. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I gotta spend a couple minutes in the old BIOS. It's only detecting what friggin' oh, I gotta install the drivers. Holy frick, you need to relax. Oh yeah, I think those fans are ripping, bud. I gotta have to spend time resetting the damn fans. This computer's loud as frick now, boy. Some might ask, why did I get a 1200 and not an APU? Because I built this system after the APUs were already released. Well, for one, I got a really stinking good deal on the 1200. It was actually part of a bundle, so I repurposed it. For two, I wanted those PCI Express lanes. The APUs at the time, they had less PCI Express lanes, like they might have only had 8 or 16 going to the graphics port. To have all that distribution for a big X370 board, to do the kind of migration that I was doing, I wanted all the ports anyway. Okay, so plan is now, oh, for freak's sakes, you're jumping all around on me. Oh, this thing's off. Whoa! Oh yeah, I dropped this screen the other day. I knocked this thing over. Frigged it right up. RIP. Well, that's disappointing. I'm down a monitor. But either way, I got all the monitors now. And she's ripping. I should have. There we go. Radeon 26% doing encoding, video encode. Now I'm guessing if I bust ass out the internet, go to just about any website, she gonna be more spiffin' now, right? I don't know why I'm putting that into, I'm gonna confuse this website. Oh, okay. Cables and some speakers. Long McQuaid's just like, okay, we don't know what this guy's talking about. Just like, okay, here you go. Done be the Googler. Why am I just saying random crap? Don't be the Google. Don't be the Google. Don't be evil. You know what? Yeah, bud. Yeah, bud, she's spiffing now. She's spiffing now. 8 core 16 threads. and a proper video card, this computer's up to stuff. This computer's just gonna like work. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this. If you did, stay tuned, because I tinker on computers sometimes, and now I got a dead monitor, right? I'm trying to see an inversion here. Yeah, I gotta get to the grocery store before the bun thief steals all the buns. That's where they take them off the rack, where you individually buy them and then package them up into 6, and you're like, one guy, I don't need 6 freaking buns. That's like buns for a week, bud. I just need like 2 or 3. Why am I telling you about my bun woes? You don't care about that.